Nebraska's defense, one of the top-ranked defense in the country, probably the best you've seen all year long. The secondary is really good, but they seem a little vulnerable against the run.
Well, to a degree, and I think some of that's, they understand, and in the way they two-gap and the way they cover, that they understand what they're giving up run-wise or how they're going to squeeze it. But they're physical. They're very disciplined in how they play. Their structures, again, I look at the discipline and where they, how they line up and how they cover people technique-wise are very good. And they got good personnel, so they really make you work to work it on them.
Can you talk a little bit about Travis Lewis, what he's brought to you guys this year?
Yeah, he's been a great leader. He's really stepped up that part throughout the whole year of just being a very positive leader. He's had a great year in just getting our guys lined up, getting the checks in there that we need to make, and he's always a physical presence, tackling and covering and doing the things we need him to do.
Was the success Nebraska had against Landry last year a product of Landry not being ready for that situation, or was it Bo and Carl being that good schematically and throwing something at him that he wasn't?
Well, they do what they do. They did it well, so you have to give them credit for that too. Sure, but we struggled with a whole bunch of people a year ago, right? So a year ago is a year ago, and again, Carl, Bo, they did a good job. Their structure's always good, and they always have good schemes. But also, I don't know that was the only game we struggled in, right? So, running the ball, protecting, penalties, turnovers, so.
You're in better shape to face that kind of situation, but knowing, of course, as well as anyone, what Bo and Carl bring to the table, you expect the same kind of challenge.
Sure, absolutely. They do a great job, and again, they got good players. That's what I've been talking about here. So we understand that, but I also feel we're a lot different team, and a lot more. We have a lot. We have executed a lot differently than we have a year ago in a lot of ways, and we had a heck of a game with them a year ago. And at certain times we did move the ball well. We didn't do well in the red zone. We missed 3 field goals, right? I believe, and then missed a 4th down. And they stopped us. So in the end, there's a lot between those red zones that was fairly good.
You see a lot of teams across this conference and across the country that fail to improve as the season goes on. Is that one of the more satisfying things about this as you look at that team at the end of last year to where they are now and
Sure.
how much improvement they've made?
Sure it is, and I say too, compliment them all the time on just their attitude's been wonderful. Throughout the year they have really accepted coaching, increased their expectations, understand when things they know they can make this play and they didn't, how to make it, or what, just their work habits, their work ethic, their attitude, their willingness to in meetings to really work at it. It's been great. So it's been a fun team that way, and really the last 3 weeks you can tell they're really gained confidence and excitement about the possibilities and how they're playing.
Bob, the number of penalties that you're getting is remarkable. I
Right.
guess the offense, I don't even know if you got one the other night, but specifically that offensive line that was kind of undisciplined last year. You got 107 snaps. I don't know if you had one.
Yeah, very few. I don't know that we had a procedure or any of that. So you're right, and that's going back to your question a year ago, we had all kind of issues, and a lot of them, anyway. So you're seeing in the last several weeks, all year, we lead the league in fewest penalties, and that shows discipline, maturity, poise. The things that we're playing smarter, and hopefully that'll continue this week.
Do you see a lot of similarities in the Youngstown boys, Carl and Bo, and you and Mike?
Absolutely. I'm sure everyone else does too. So in the end, there's a bunch of them, and we're, like I said, we are our family's very intertwined and close, and like I said before, not only Bo being here, but Carl lived with me. I can't tell you how many months with my wife and I when he came to Kansas State in Manhattan, and my wife considers him like a brother. So she might be halfway rooting for him. I don't. kidding. But so, there are a lot of similarities in our philosophies and competitiveness and things like that.
Speaking of competitiveness, Bob, I think Bo has replaced Mike as the nation's most volatile sideline guy. What is it about you
It's
guys?
just this week.
Well,
so,
what about you guys? Why, you guys from Youngstown are really animated on the sidelines. Why, is that just coincidence, or is there something up there that makes you guys that way?
I have to put it on our high school coaches. They were pretty animated, so we'll send it back to my dad and Coach Butchie and all those guys back at Cardinal Mooney High School. Make sure they get that, whoever's printing it.
Is that something you've changed over the years? You don't seem as fired up on the sidelines as you used to earlier in your career.
Yeah, it's taken me 12 years, so it's little by little you start to realize, I don't know, but that's part of it. Yeah, I guess I've been in too many games now.
Well, there's a perception up in Nebraska they're not getting a fair shake from the Big 12 their last year in the league. And a lot of times that's more fans and administrators. Can that trickle to a football team to serve as motivation?
I don't know.
Have you ever seen?
No.
On the Youngstown thing, is there something about your personality, something about, you mentioned your football philosophies are similar, but are you guys similar people? Just something about growing up in that part of the country?
Yeah, I think there is. It's very much a blue collar environment. Work hard for anything you get. You got to earn it. Nothing's given to you, and be willing to fight for it. That's just kind of I think everybody's nature back there, and we never had any trouble fighting for it back then.
Is there anything you know both of you now that you maybe learned from your father?
I think our overall philosophies, as far as, I don't think some things in football, being physical and having a physical presence always matters, and it needs to be developed and worked in how you run the ball, or how you or how you play defense. Those kind of things. I've always to believe in that. I always believe you have no chance without defense, or not much of one, and discipline. If your structure, if your discipline and technique, if those things aren't there along with being physical, that you're not going to do well. And I see those things in Bo's team.
You talked about how this team has evolved. Given that, not only for them but for you, what makes this trip to the title game maybe more special or different than the other ones?
I guess just because it's the last one, and you're playing another team that has a long-standing tradition, in this game with you. But in the end, none of that matters. It's all what we're talking about now. When we go to practice and they go to practice, they don't care about that. We don't. When we show up Saturday, it don't matter. It's going to be about this year and winning the championship this year. And it is great storylines, and for everyone to go back and revisit all the great games. But, in the end, all that matters is this year.
You have a favorite Big 12 title game moment?
Gosh, they're all pretty nice. So I can't say any one moment. Like I said, they're all pretty special, and there's plays in each of them that I fondly remember. One of the bright ones for me is a 2000 4th and 1 K-State. They're coming back. It's tight. It's 4th and 1, and we hadn't run the option all year, and Heupel still can't run the option. And we run the option, pitch it to Q, and he's out the gate. And it's one of those once he is, you're like, whew. But anyway, there's several. And to me, I've said before, probably my favorite game, all of them, is probably the 2000 game here with Nebraska. We were finally back. We're in the national picture, 2 in the country. They're 1. Both teams are playing excellently, and this is the tradition and history of this game. And to be back in the hunt and in that position, we really started to feel, hey, we're getting Oklahoma back to where this is where we need to be. and then to, you know, with all that was on the line to be down and come back and play like we did. Again, when have Oklahoma people stormed the field since? Right? I mean, you couldn't keep them off the field that day. I don't care how many horses or dogs they might have had. So, or keep the goalposts up. So I remember, unfortunately, being interviewed by Lynn Swan by the goalposts, and he and I are dodging pepper spray. You know, so even that was fun. So
Quick.
start covering up and walking away.
You've talked a lot about the Nebraska thing is about respect and it's about championships. Do you have a favorite memory of going to Lincoln or through the years, or will you miss that trip going forward?
Not in particular.
Do you have a favorite memory of Lincoln? Have you always been treated pretty well there by the fans?
Sure. They've got great fans and very supportive. Always, you know, they respect another good football team and always applaud them. And so I thought it was ironic. It was that 2001 when we throw the dang throwback to the quarterback, got him wide open, and we underthrow it. And Nate slips trying to come back to it. And I'll be darned, Frank doesn't call it a quarter or so later to them, and it works. You know, so I always thought that was, I want to say funny, but kind of ironic.
I think it's a more maybe celebrated corners in terms of name and things, but haven't your corners played at an incredibly high level to match up against just about anybody?
Absolutely. Jamel Flint, well, I mean, they do have great corners, and they cover well, and they challenge them in how they play their defense, so they compliment them. They do really well, but, you know, Jamel Fleming leads the league, I believe, in passes defended and is second in the league in interceptions. So Jamel's had a huge year, and DeMontre's been very, very good, very solid as well. You know, the other night he had the one miscue where he got the wrong signal, and you know, not his fault. It is, but he's had a great year. DeMontre too, and we put him out there on both of them, you know, on an island quite often, and how we play, and so it's been they you know, and coming into the year, everyone was wondering that, and those guys had played all of what those guys did a year ago, or even in a lot of ways better. And again, in particular, Jamel has had a huge year.